Researchers, you have learned a lot of different ways to take notes as you read nonfiction. You've learned about boxes and bullets, T-charts, Venn diagrams, timelines. You've also learned about thinking part to whole, so taking notes after one chunk, then taking notes after another. You've also learned about taking notes across your reading process, making a quick prediction, taking notes as you go, and then reflecting and confirming your thinking at the end. So think about the ways you've learned and what you've been doing lately, and just take a moment to ask yourself, what's been working for me? What hasn't? What have I tried? What have I not tried or avoided? Do you have it? Okay, hold that in mind. What I want to teach you today is that nonfiction readers know that they are always pushing to outgrow themselves. As they get more skilled at nonfiction reading and researching, they take work they used to do physically in writing in their notebook or typing into a doc, and they ask themselves, what can I do to hold on to more information mentally? To do more work in my mind. As they read on, it's almost as if they make timelines, boxes and bullets, all of these different organizational structures in their minds to help them hold on to more in texts and get more information that really matters. I'm going to show you what I mean, and I want you to watch how I read a chunk at a time and how I try at all costs to actually avoid taking notes. And so before I do this, I'm just going to quickly walk you through or remind you of some of the big things that note takers want to do whenever they take notes for nonfiction. Okay, take a look with me here. So some things you want to do, and you've learned these or seen these before. It's helpful to preview the text and think about where you might stop and how the text will also go and be organized. You want to also avoid to just hold your pen or type as you go, and instead pause after a chunk and ask yourself questions like, what's important? How does this add on to what I know? Is this fitting in with what I was thinking so far? Then as you think, you can think more about how you might organize your notes and how you might pop out the ideas. And then you want to jot, but you want your jots to be quick and to the point and reflective of what you think about the text, not just the information in the text. When you're done, you review your notes and make sure that they really match what the text was about and also show your best thinking work. So now that we have these kind of in our mind, let's look and see how I do it, and then you'll try it on your own. So I'm going to be using a text that you may have seen me read aloud before, and if not, well, join me. I'm going to start by doing some of that big work. I'm going to preview it. Okay, so how will this text go? How is it already seeming to be organized? Photos of king tides globally show risks of climate change. Okay, so I'm thinking already just from the title and this picture, it might be like big problems. So maybe it'll be organized by problem solution. Maybe it'll be causes and effects of climate change. Let's look across it to see. Mapping data show where flooding happens. I'm thinking it'll be causes. Oh, and I see the word effects. So I think it's going to be organized by cause and effect. Okay. Super high tides. Maybe that's like one of the effects. Okay. Looks like it has a lot of different examples of some of the big bad stuff that's been happening around climate change, like floods, rising tides, and then thinking about climate change locally. So based off of what I've seen so far, I'm thinking that this text is organized by cause and effect. I'm not going to start note taking or even set up my notes. I'm just going to do it in my brain. I'm going to just make sure that this is what I really think, giving myself time and space to pause, revise my thinking before I even get to the physical part of the note taking. So watch me now go into the next step where I read and stop and think as I go. I'm not going to skip my text features though, right? I've been using my headings. I'm going to use what I have here. I have a photo of a flood. Heavy surf surrounds the legs of a bridge as an extreme high tide rolls on into the harbor in Depot Bay, Oregon. Okay, so An example, it seems like from the United States to New Zealand, many people are snapping pictures of king tides. These giant swells of water happen about twice per year in coastal areas worldwide. Tides come and go as the sea rises and falls. The moon's gravity causes daily tides. Ooh, cause. I saw the word effect. I think it's cause and effect. I'm just noticing by the language though. When the sun and moon line up, they increase the gravitational pull of everyday tides. The event causes king tides, which bring major flooding. Nature lovers and amateur scientists across the globe watch these king tides. Their photos show how high the water line gets and where the water goes. In doing this, they are helping prepare for climate change. Okay, so it seems like this is not really about the causes and effects of climate change. It's more about like how we might avoid it, because it seems like the flooding is more about maybe I have to wait. I feel like I'm jumping to conclusions, and whenever you're not totally sure, you know what it's best to do? Read on a bit. See if you can figure it out and answer your own questions and wonderings. In doing this, they are helping prepare for climate change. As the Earth heats up, sea levels are expected to rise. Okay, so let me just stop and think. What I'm learning so far is that tides happen no matter what, is what they're saying. So tides rise and fall. But it seems like because the Earth is hotter, the tides are maybe more extreme. So it seems like because we know that tides will rise and fall, and like we can predict that, maybe they're saying that scientists can help manage it. And so maybe this will actually be more about like, especially the next part says mapping data show where flooding happens, like how we avoid things. Now I'm thinking this isn't cause and effect. It's like assuming we already know that climate change is an issue and that some of the effects are flooding. It seems like we already know that, or they expect us to. And what they're really teaching us is like, how do we avoid it? So maybe this is more of like a problem solution text. Now I'm going to change my mental organizational structure from cause and effect to problem solution and just see if this next part fits with that thinking. Mapping data show where flooding happens. Many are studying and preparing for the effects of climate change. Again, preparing. So it's like, how do we avoid this problem or make it better? Not why does it happen? More of like, how do we fix it? So it's fitting so far. Often the photos contain mapping data showing where flooding happens on specific roads. Some give clues to governments about whether it's safe to build new housing, for example, near a bluff that is eroding or wearing away. Okay, so they're saying, so basically scientists are helping because they know how the tides rise and fall. They know that tides are getting more intense, it seems like, floods are happening. So they can basically predict like, oh, don't build that thing there because it will flood, or do build it there because there won't be a flood if the tides rise. So it's like problem solution. We have this problem. Here are some ways we can avoid it or fix it. So it's fitting, I think. Skip Styles helps lead Wetlands Watch. It's a growing nonprofit group. Whoa, this is new information. Let me just check back with my things I need to be doing. So I previewed. I didn't jot anything yet. I'm pausing as I read, asking what am I learning, what's important. I'm thinking about my notes. I think I'm getting close to being ready to jot, but I don't want to do anything until I'm pretty sure I have not just facts, but an idea. So as I finish up this section, I'm going to be thinking, well, what's an idea that feels important? What seems to be significant across this text so far? And how can I maybe use my mental organizational structure, problem solution, to help me maybe explain that? Okay, the group has developed a smartphone app. So there's this group, nonprofit, maybe they're scientists. It uses volunteer data to gather images and pinpoint king tide flooding. So there's like people helping to let others know about this beyond just scientists, maybe. Many city governments are planning for climate change. So they have been calling Styles asking for data and photos, he said. The first of these king tide projects involving the public began in 2009 in Australia. The idea has since spread to more than 12 coastal states in the United States, British Columbia, New Zealand, and beyond. Okay, I've read almost half the text, so I think I can maybe jot a little bit. I'm thinking that, I definitely don't want to use cause and effect. I want to see if I can just maybe write an idea with problem solution in mind. So maybe it's something like, since we know that tides rise and fall, and that the tides are rising as climate change or rising, scientists can actually predict where flooding will happen. This means that scientists can help to avoid major problems, floods, by using what they already know to be true. I'm going to add some of my own thinking. Like, what do I think this is important? Why is this important? This definitely will help to avoid major destruction, but it does seem like just a quick fix, not really solving the major issue. So it seems like this article is so far about dealing with the reality of climate change rather than trying to stop it, since it's already taken effect. Do you see how, one, I did not write until I really was ready by previewing the text, organizing my thoughts as I went, revising my thinking, testing out one organizational text over another. I also wrote down an idea, not just facts. And I also pushed myself to grow my thinking by adding my own understanding and interpretation here. So now when I look back on my notes, I feel like I'll really remember what this article is about, and I'll also be ready to teach people because I didn't just write. I really instead thought. So what I'd like you to do today is, when you continue to read on your research topic, is to see how far can you push yourself before you actually write down a jot. Can you follow these steps? Use this chart as your checklist. Go through the steps for a research article on your topic, just like how I went through the steps for a research article on mine. Then write notes and see if there's a difference in the level of your note taking today. I can't wait to see what you do. And remember to trust yourself and hold on to that information, because you really can do a lot of invisible work.